All right, hard drinkers.
Let's drink hard.
Okay, vampire killers.
Let's kill some fucking vampires.
Oh, all that and so much more in this episode of the Deadlights Pod. Woo!
The devil's eyes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I'll play a game.
Want it? Kill 'em all. Want it?
You so you can mine. Live, dead, lives.
Welcome to the Deadlights Podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your host, Matt, bringing you guys yet another deep dive into some tremendous horror.
The penultimate horror of this season, at least. Whoa, second to last episode already? Where'd it go?
Tremendous times have been had. Certainly more to come.
Wow. Where'd it all go? And we certainly saved a couple really, really good gems for the end, I feel.
Some excellent bangers.
Excellent bangers.
Tie in amongst a lot of what we've seen already in ways that we'll weave into.
And quite a delight to dive into the behind the scenes as well, as we have continued to go deeper and deeper in this season for you. And what film was that? From Dusk Till Dawn from 1996. Written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Robert Rodriguez. Two criminals and their hostages unknowingly seek temporary refuge in a truck stop populated by vampires with chaotic results.
Yeah, chaos ensues. Big time.
I think this is going to be a very fun discussion for us two in particular, hopefully for you as well. Because we have a couple filmmakers, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, that you and I both really enjoy their films. So it was really fun to be able to dive into the behind the scenes of this and just learn how it all came together. Because quite honestly, I had no idea anything about the behind the scenes of this movie.
Yeah, dude, for a couple of friends, couple of horror buddies, couple of filmmaking guys to get to come together to dive deep on two inspirational fellas from our childhood, who certainly, made their mark profoundly when they didn't know each other previously. They're on a panel together after they had done El Mariachi and Reservoir Dogs at a film festival, and they were like paired together about like violence in the movie in the 90s.
We saw an immediate kinship in the kind of movies we were doing. I mean, most first films that come out are more personal kind of dramas or something that, really, and ours were just twisted genre pictures. I mean, what kind of first film is that?
Having an opportunity of two friends who are in a very similar space to get to come in and kind of wear each other's shoes in a sense too, because, there's aspects of Quentin writing this film knowing that Robert was going to direct it and thinking, especially in the rewrites, once Robert was really attached to it, that he's writing in the directing style of Robert, and then Robert trying to then, based off of a script from Tarantino, shoot it a little bit more in a Quentin style too. So just them being able to come together that way is like, this is the dream that we all had, like coming into filmmaking and stuff, and being able to make a specific genre picture after you have a little bit of success previously that allows you to do this type of thing and have this much fun together. It's like, this is like the ultimate.
Should we just get into it?
It's been one long goddamn hot, miserable shit-ass day in every inch of the way.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Hell yeah. Let's get into the can. Let's jump into this movie. We got a lot to talk about, so I might as well get in there.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Buckle up. As always, I would like to start with a little history lesson of our filmmaker, Robert Rodriguez. And he grew up as many of us know, very, very familiar backstory, a lover of films. His dad brought home a VHS player one day that came with a camera, and that started him running around making short films with his friends.
In the same way, Robert, at 11 years old, making himself, every weekend he just edited. He filmed during the week and edited on the weekends. You can't make an 11-year-old do that.
In high school, they let him film football games. But Robert was already thinking like a filmmaker, so he wasn't filming the play and what happened. He'd filmed the ball. He'd filmed the father who was like, I can't believe you didn't catch that ball. They fired him immediately.
And I think one of his films won a festival and earned him a scholarship to go to film school. And then it was at that film school that he ended up making a short film called Bedhead. And it was dipping into horror, dipping into comedy, very much establishing his very unique style of quick cuts, fast movements, kind of intermingled with a sense of humor.
Boy, was I gypped when God was handing out brothers. Unwashed, uncivilized, and with the worst case of bedhead you've ever seen.
And then that short film went on to, I believe, win a Sundance Award. And that's kind of what got him some recognition, which then propelled him to really take his filmmaking career seriously and then make El Mariachi, which was his first feature film, and then Desperado from that. I think Desperado was kind of, up until that point, his hit of getting him recognition, and some of these actors that are in the movie recognition in the States especially, to then propel him to getting recognized by people like Quentin Tarantino, who was developing another project at the same time.
Yeah, so to take a couple steps back really quick from there, we have Robert Kurtzman of K&B Special Effects team. Basically, Kurtzman was wanting to be able to showcase some of the effects that they were doing. So it's like, all right, let me create some sort of outline or treatment for the type of film I would want to see, and that was two bank robbers in a vampire bar together. And this is about like 88 when he had written this like 5-page outline, and he ends up pitching this to Tarantino at the time.
And I had found Quentin through contacts, and he was at that time working, at the video store, Video Archives. And but he had given me sample scripts for Reservoir Dogs, True Romance, and Natural Born Killers. And we read them, me and my partner John Esposito. And so we went, let's get this guy to write Dusk.
And then it was Quentin and Robert, after doing Desperado and Pulp Fiction, doing 4 Rooms together and finishing in they had like an office that they shared together during that time where this kind of came back around, this idea of this as well again.
Back in our days when I was writing Desperado at Columbia Pictures and he was writing Pulp Fiction originally for TriStar, we were on the Sony lot together. And I was telling him about my Mexican action movie, and he said, hey, I wrote a script set in Mexico about Mexican vampires, and he told me about Dusk Till Dawn.
I gave it to Robert to read, because Robert just wanted to read all my scripts, and because me and Robert were friends and buddies and stuff, and he read it, and he came back, and he goes, man, this is a really cool script. I'd do this tomorrow, man. See, I wish I could get the rights of this.
Basically, they kind of agreed to it then, where they both saw they were going to take time off and kind of relax over the next half year or so, before they knew something else was going to be kind of coming up more. And they both were like, all right, if we're going to do this, it needs to be right now.
I knew that he was offering me the chance to direct it myself and have my own ideas, although he did show up every once in a while behind me and whisper sometimes and say, you don't have to do this at all, but, which means, you should consider this.
The Richie character gets stapled, tied to Quentin. He is the first official, casted hire. They wanted Mickey Rourke to come in for Seth, for his brother, but at the time, Mickey had just gone into his escapades of wrestling and kind of quit acting. And then they were like, who else could we get? Quentin had just directed an episode of ER on the most recent season.
I had just started watching George on ER and really liked him. I thought he was like this kind of cool Robert Mitchum character on ER. I thought he was really neat.
Since he plays the complete opposite, he plays an ER doctor on television, I wanted him to come and portray someone who sends people to the ER.
George had a little bit of space and time between ER. He was only getting kind of like 4th man lead role offers at the time. As soon as they gave him this offer, he got all these first leading man roles, but he denied those at the time. Robert jokes about I'm going to go to movie hell if I don't make George into a movie star.
He gave him all those hero shots.
Yes. And, Quentin took the tone down some of his dialogue and stuff, switched it over to George. There was a lot of rebalancing, rewriting, structuring. Those were all the pieces of glue that came to bind the initiation process.
You mentioned it in the beginning of these two filmmakers independently working on their own stuff and then coming together somewhat naturally for this project. And I think this movie is, again, just a really good showcase of both of their distinct styles coming together. Robert Rodriguez I think of him as a very frenetic director. A lot of movement with the camera, zooms, crash zooms, the characters moving into the camera too. Sounds as well, heavy, loud sound design. And then we have Quentin Tarantino, has very interesting characters, very detail-oriented characters, very long-winded characters as well. And I think the first scene, quite honestly, is a great example of both those things coming into play. Let's get into the movie.
Let's get there.
We start on a very, very deserted road. Our sheriff rolling up to Benny's World of Liquors.
Oh, yeah. We got Michael Parks, the great Michael Parks, coming in here.
One long, goddamn hot, miserable, shit-ass fucking day every inch of the way.
This is more shot in a Quentin Tarantino style. Such a long dialogue scene, and we stretched it out even more when Michael really to give it the spaces and just the breadth of just being laid back and not an action movie at all. I wanted it to seem like the whole movie was just going to be about him.
Again, to your point with the frenetic style of Robert's shooting, is like his film school was all me, El Mariachi, me hands-on. I'm going to do everything. Shoot, light, edit, and like sound design. So it's just like he has his hands in all these different areas.
Yeah, so he's shooting all of this too.
Yes, he's shooting all this and he's thinking of all these other aspects at once too. He's very considerate of his actors and the environment he's within. So he didn't want to waste time, and instead of like a more traditional style of going wide and kind of continue to punch in on different takes, he wanted to really let Michael Parks go and not ever interrupt him or anything either. So he was zooming and just kind of reframing the shot as he went.
I'm actually changing the composition throughout the take. So all this that you're seeing is really all of take 9. I zoomed in on that cutaway. That's why I cut away to Pete, is because I repositioned during the shot.
Because he loved Quentin's dialogue. He's like, I didn't want to waste a line you wrote. So he was just like, we would cut around to different people just so it didn't make sense. A line that was from a different take would be able to be used.
He's stitching together the best performance and then covering the cut with a cutaway.
I guess you heard about that shit up in Abilene. Bank robbery.
It's all it's been on the box all day. It killed some people, didn't it?
Get my hands on them crazy, sick fucking bastards. Payback time.
It lulls us. It's drawing us into what he's talking about. This zoom too is literally drawing us into him, and we're getting comfortable in this place, which is great because then he goes to the bathroom and we are immediately hit with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, the Gecko brothers, coming in. The style immediately changes.
Now, I don't want to do it, but I will turn this place into the fucking Wild Bunch if I think that you are fucking with me.
And especially coming out of such a lulled moment, we feel it that much more. Immediately establishing our two Gecko brothers, Seth and Richie. Seth, George Clooney, definitely the one in complete control.
Giving George lots of hero shots. I kept telling George I wanted to make him a movie star after this. Television shot always kind of far away, and you couldn't really see him that well. I never really got a real sense of what he was like on ER, and I wanted him to really feel different in this movie.
And then we have the laid-back one, Richie, played by Quentin Tarantino, who is a little bit of our wild card, and we're not really sure what he's going to do next.
Were you giving that pig signals?
And what I think is great in these first couple scenes we have establishing with these characters is, yes, they're both bad guys. These are bank robbers. But there is still a line and a moral code that we have starting to be established between these characters. George Clooney, he's still a cold-blooded criminal, but you can still see a glimmer of a code that he has. On the other hand, Richie, his brother, has no code really at all and can just fly off the handle for seemingly no reason at all that we can understand.
He says you were scratching.
I wasn't scratching.
And that becomes an interesting balance that especially Seth has to kind of figure out how to deal with throughout the movie.
Well, your best better get a hell of a lot fucking better, or you are going to feel a hell of a lot fucking worse.
The agent of chaos tries to throw the clerk under the bus. Clooney is able to get everything back under control for them to hide, for Michael Parks to come back out of the bathroom. But any hope that we had of him getting out of here is immediately dashed by him getting shot in the back of the head by Richie. And it's just this quick, again, we're jumping from maybe this lull of this sigh of relief to nope, no one's safe.
See Seth grab this roll of toilet paper, and then this doesn't make sense. He's in the aisle and he kicks the shelf or what have you, but then from above his head, lighter fluid drops right into his hand. So he kicks forward, yet it jostles what's overhead, drops in. It's an excellent moment, though. Just a cool guy shit.
It's those moments that really remind me, like, that is the Robert Rodriguez style. It's fast. We're constantly moving, but there's this like underlying of like whimsy, like, and like comic bookness to it. And so you can suspend things that don't really logically make sense because it's a little cartoonish.
You don't really, like, for the mainstay of me seeing this movie, I never picked up on the fact that it's falling from overhead and he's kicking forward. It just, like, your mind just kind of jumps over that. So we have Pete aflame. John Hawkes no more. He is reserved out. A Pete mask. So there was a live body that was inflamed. Originally, he was supposed to land on like a Hostess stand, about like Hostess Twinkies, but the gag it didn't read well just on screen. It was funnier in script, I guess. So replace it with popcorn.
And then we made a dummy. We wanted to do that sort of an homage to a shot in The Thing where the guy's laying on the ground kicking. That was actually a dummy because there's something really effective about actually seeing legs kicking and moving. It's not just a dummy
and the
laying
fire's
there
still
on
going.
fire.
You're like, wow, that guy. The MPAA had the most trouble with that actually than even the stuff in the second half because he was kicking.
That's an effective shot.
Very effective because I would have thought all the while that was whatever stuntman was just fucking taking the brunt of some flames for a while, just cooking down there.
And what's awesome is like these are the little tiny sprinkles of K&B that we're getting so far, kind of leading up to an ultimate showcase of it.
What's excellent is as soon as we come out of this liquor store, it starts shooting off flames. And this is actually our martini shot. So the final shot of the film, they wrap production at the Benny's Liquor. 6 months prior, we had Robert with Desperado, where he needed a moment to just have our two main characters in that walking away from a big ball of flame. And it ended up, because it shot so fast, he had to shoot it in slow motion to elicit a better response. That ends up creating a very common trope in action film that moved on from there of walking away slow-mo from an explosion behind you.
Cool guys don't look at explosions. And they made a song about it.
And not even 6 months later, he does it again in From Dusk Till Dawn. And granted, it's not slow-mo, but you get this great banter between the Gecko brothers before they get into their car and take off from there, leading us into our opening credit sequence. And it's a dark night.
So I'm sitting passenger seat with a camera filming George, and I'm holding up the hand there and holding it up to the lens.
It was funny. I was surprised at what a great reaction that shot got.
Yeah, that's a great reaction. Looking through the hand, and then right then there's your credit for K&B effects. Right then, so I kind of timed it out so that you guys would be there. In fact, I changed the order of a few names contractually so that you guys would be right there.
And then the boys pull into the motel room, and we get the reveal that we got a hostage in here. And I think that this scene is another really good showcase of the difference between these two brothers. First of all, we got the brothers talking about El Rey.
If you want sanctuary, you got to pay the price. The price is 30%.
Then we get, again, a very controlled Clooney laying into the hostage the rules.
You hang in there, you follow the rules, and you don't fuck with us, and you'll get out of this alive. I give you my word.
At least this one, though, seems to be giving me a way out if I follow his rules. The other one in the back is making us all pretty uncomfortable.
Real uncomfortable. Real quiet, leering eyes.
And now we're going to leave the hostage with him? And then we meet our family. We have the
Fullers.
The Fullers. We have Jake, Kate, and Scott. And as with everybody in this movie, everyone's running to Mexico.
Don't you believe in God anymore?
Yes, I do believe in God, but do I love them? No.
He believes there's God, but doesn't love him. And so we're establishing his struggle that he's having with his morals as well. And I think that his immediate knee-jerk reaction is to get everyone in the RV and let's go on vacation.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Wow.
And it's really interesting because we have Harvey Keitel playing Jacob Fuller, and Harvey Keitel is a dominating actor.
Officer, I swear I'm clean.
They were like a little worried coming into this. How are we going to have him play this meek, kind of lost faith pastor who was kind of having to take a lot of commands and stuff around? How are you going to command the great Harvey Keitel around? But he played it so well.
And we have Juliette Lewis as Kate, whose second appearance on the podcast this season.
Locally recent appearance from the great Juliette Lewis, who was friends with Quentin, was on vacation at the time between some work in Florida, and read the script from her agent, called Quentin about it and said she wanted to play Kate. And Quentin's like, Kate is such you're too good of an actress to play Kate. And so ended up kind of reworking a little bit more for her to do in the film.
What do you think Mom would say?
Mama's got nothing to say. She's dead.
Are you a faithless preacher, or are you a mean motherfucking servant of God?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm a mean servant of God. Let's get into the meat, shall we? This movie does a great kind of paralleling, or I guess juxtaposing monsters. There's multiple kinds of monsters in this movie, real and fake. And I think we kind of get to a certain point of asking, does it really matter, if they are real or are they fake? What is the line really between man and monster? With the Gecko Brothers, we have a really good two sides of the coin of a criminal, one with a moral code and one who doesn't have a moral code and is really just someone to bring violence and pain to the world.
Richard, what's wrong with you?
A white piece of paper. That's what he just had, a white piece of paper that says his eye line. You just need to react to this. Because originally they were going to cut away more to Quentin and stuff out there, and he's just like, no. I want to hold on George.
It's a great choice because we then, as the audience, are filling in, what the fuck did Richie do to that woman?
Because George is a great actor, and I wanted people to know that. And I wanted to do it early on. This was the second day of shooting. And I wanted to give him the confidence also what we could do in the movie. And so rather than show the woman open up and do that kind of gross out shot, I wanted to play it all on his face.
I am a professional fucking thief. I don't kill people. That I don't have to.
We're continuing this divide that we have established between these brothers. The gap between their lines is getting very, very large. And Clooney breaks in this moment a little bit and tries to make Richie understand that this is not what he signed up for. This is not the type of criminal that he is.
Get to Mexico, and it's going to be sweet rosemary and 100 proof liquor and rice and beans, and none of this shit's going to matter.
He basically is just trying to comfort his brother. It's just we got to get to El Rey, and you're going to find your happiness, or it's we're going to get away from this. He
really emphasizes the importance of getting to El Rey. El Rey is the salvation for them. That will solve all their problems. They're running away from so many things right now. And I think that is definitely another point of the meat in this movie is we have characters that are running away from their problems. And typically when that happens, if you run away from your problems, either they're going to catch up with you or they're going to take you to even darker places because you're trying to run away and hide.
Yeah, you're force multiplying at this point.
And now we got some two groups of people that are running from things coming together. The Fullers, oopsie, end up staying at the motel that the Geckos are staying at. First moment, again, we're getting a showcase of the brutality of man, like they're making it very clear, Seth and Richie, that they're willing to do anything to get what they want. I mean, they threaten killing Scott.
Scott has a great visceral reaction. Exactly. That like spining up on the bed moment.
My children are not going with you, and that's that.
This is fucking this.
Dad.
Pardon me. His name is Ernie
Liu?
Yes, exactly. So everybody else coming into this picture, all the way to when we get to Tom Savini and Fred Williamson, Fred the Hammer, were very intentional, choices or who we landed on it all. So I just don't know what, and if it was always written in that this is going to end up being like your Chinese adopted son.
I was curious if you had any. I couldn't find any behind the scenes on Scott.
I tried to pull some AI shit. And asked what was this guy in anything else or something like that? I think I got a response that Robert used them again in a '98 TV version of The Faculty.
Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Jake agrees to take them across the Mexican border. Come on, Ramblers, let's start rambling. They start rambling. And driving to the Mexican border, we have Richie in the back taking care of the kids. Gross. And then Jake and Seth in the front, kind of just talking shop.
Look, dickhead, the only thing that you have to be convinced about is the fact that you are stuck in a situation with a couple of real mean motor scooters.
But we also get this moment that was very much built to in the script where we're really identifying that this is Jacob and Seth's movie, that they are our two main kind of leads in this, and not Richie and Seth. Now Quentin wrote in one more big action piece, and they got calling from production, I think midway early on or something, they were going to have some more money, or at least an agreed to, you can add in something more, and had designed out like a large set piece for another action sequence before we get to the border. Problem is that would identify the audience too much with it being Seth and Richie's film, because they would have all the gusto and everything there. So ultimately they withheld it, and in the commentary they're kind of joking about it, and it's like, got to save that for another one. And Robert's like, well, you gave that to me. He's like, that's going to be mine. He's like, I get to use that. They don't specify what this is. And of course this is the audio commentary at that time before it ever got done. So what action sequence is this? What film is it in? Can we identify it? I didn't go deep there. I didn't have the time yet. Of course, I'm curious as all hell, because this is what really gets our gears spinning when we get tantalized.
We got to see those pages. That was a great choice, in my opinion, just for that impact of the end alone.
Well, yeah, and we have these two strong figureheads who kind of agree to disagree in this moment. They're not coming to terms, but they are kind of subsiding more and kind of relaxing into being with one another, especially Jacob's forced to be with Seth and with them there in this moment. But also Seth, again, being a man of having certain moral values, is like...
And I don't think you want to be worrying about my brother's intentions towards your daughter all night either. You get us into Mexico, and you don't try to escape, and your daughter will be safe, and in the morning I will let you go.
And what I think is great from this moment on, them coming together... You would think that two hardened criminals and a preacher and his family couldn't be more different from each other than possible, like no more different. But as we start to get them coming together, like they're starting to have to rely on each other more and more, and each of them are kind of being brought to the same level more and more as we go into this movie, which I think is great, because everyone is being stripped of everything that they were, and the focus is only becoming more and more about survival. I think the next scene is the perfect establishment of the beginning of them coming together. It's getting across the border.
Just my son and I? What's your purpose in Mexico?
Jake, who is a man of faith, a man of God, has to lie to these border patrolmen to deceive them, something that is definitely a sin, to get across this border.
You can tell he's having a tough time doing it.
And he's not very good at it.
Exactly. He does not come off smooth whatsoever.
And then Seth and Richie in the bathroom, and Richie gets a little pissed off that he's called a nut.
What the hell's that supposed to mean?
What?
He's called me a fucking nut.
Keep your fucking voice down.
What?
What was that?
Seth has to do the right thing and protect everybody from his brother by straight up knocking him out. So we see both sides working together to accomplish this goal.
You're fucking in Mexico, you little piece of fucking shit.
And ultimately they get past it. Ultimately they get, because of each other, because they work together, they put aside essentially each other's past and their judgments of each other. They were able to get through the situation.
Yeah, and so we have our first appearance from Cheech Marine coming in here as a border guard. And we get on through and by. And where do we find ourselves? We have crossed the border. We're fucking in Mexico, you little piece of fucking shit.
Yes, we are. And let's get into the cook.
Woo!
Yeah, we're in Mexico, baby. Let's cook this baby up as we approach the titty twister, huh? I think what's big about the cook in this film is we already have two groups of people that are both running from something, whether that be the law or themselves, and they've come together. And a lot of times in horror movies, we see when your problems catch up with you, but we don't a lot of times see what happens when you're running from your problems and you have to run to some really, really dark places to escape them, to get new problems. Yep. And the titty twister is where this group of people finds ourselves.
So, you know, they wanted it to seem like we're driving up to the gates of hell. ZZ Top song coming in there that ZZ Top wrote for the film. ZZ Top established themselves in Texas and playing a lot of like Mexican bars and stuff. When Robert told him about this bar he had, he's like, well, what bar is, I don't know if Billy gives whoever, but it was like, what bar is this? We've probably been there. He's like, well, you've never been to this one. Shows them it, and they're like, we'd like to play at this one.
And here we go, approaching our big, it was just a facade, actually. You see nude dancing, authentic Mexican food, all these different signs. It was just a facade we shot out in the middle of Barstow in a dry lake bed outside of Los Angeles. It was extremely hot, like 125 degrees in the shade.
We're rolling up to the titty twister, and we get Cheech's second roll.
Pussy, 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 come on in, pussy lover.
He's trying to draw people in when you're already on a very desolate road that it only leads to the titty twister. You have to be either a biker or a trucker to be able to come into this bar.
Who are you pulling like off the street? You know? But I love his performance. I love the whole intro that he gives. Again, it's just adding to this, like, this is like Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, like it's like a city of sin.
And I wanted to shoot it all in one take, like this, just pushing in on him and let him go through the whole list. This is the 5th take. We did 5 takes. I thought he would burn his voice out, and he got it the first take, but we went ahead and did 5. I kept the 5th take because he makes one up. He says, chicken pussy.
Velvet pussy, nalga hide pussy, even got horse pussy, dog pussy, chicken pussy, come on, you want pussy, come on in, pussy.
You can hear that he's just like making it up because he just threw a couple of extra ones in there because he would sometimes forget the order.
They were like, it's intimidating as a director coming into where, you know, people have spent all this money and time on such an elaborate set piece, and you want to show it all. But you're like, how can I show the intricacies of this all? And so, like, the best way he felt kind of coming into that, we get this like a nice 360 pan. So it kind of starts on George. We get a nice 360 wrapping around shot just to get a good lay of the land, and then pull in with George walking us in, like, basically to the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we get to meet the infamous Danny Trejo.
55-year-old Danny Trejo.
In this movie.
Looking svelte. They gave him a fucking vest and just let him just fucking show those chesticles off.
We had to check that. Like, he was 50 in this movie. He's in his 80s now. I was just like, that was just like another tip of my hat to Trejo, because love the dude. Love everything
we
you do,
get
Danny.
Trejo. We get a quick introduction. Not really any dialogue, minimal dialogue, but we get a little Greg Nicotero, big blonde-haired Nicotero, trying to pull a knife on Tom Savini, sex machine, who's got a fucking cock pistol ready to lock that flips out.
Oh, yeah.
Here I am with Tom Savini, who is the guy who actually got me into the movie business back in Pittsburgh about 12 years ago in 1984.
This is Greg Nicotero. We've known each other for many, many years.
So, of course, I'm trying to be a badass, but Tom always ones-up me.
Fred the Hammer Williamson. And again, being able to, like, cast out these legends. Tom Savini, special effects fucking makeup legend, and these beautiful amalgamation of bringing all these, and at the time, just friends, and again, like, the budget isn't crazy. It's just like, but you get to bring in, like, a lot of superstars into the mix, and then getting into, like, the most kind of delicious area of filmmaking and the fun that you're going to have within this, like, large, beautifully set out, set piece of the titty twister.
What's great too about what happens right when we go into the titty twister is, like I said, we kind of have this theme going on throughout the movie of, like, everyone being brought down to the same level at some point, and immediately when we get in there, George Clooney is turned away by Danny Trejo because he's not a trucker or a biker.
Well, I'm a truck driver. If you look outside your door in your parking lot, you'll see a big recreational vehicle. This bar is for truck drivers. I am a truck driver. These are my friends.
I think it's a really good moment to realize that when we're in here, when we're in the titty twister, when we're in a place of this much sin, both of us have kind of got here because we've been running away from our problems. We're kind of all the same in here.
It's the great equalizer.
Yes. What actually separates the good guys from the bad guys in this movie is actually not anybody's past. It's what you do in the moment. And we have this great equalizer of everybody being in the titty twister. And then we're about to have a massive switch, a massive choice that everybody has to make of when you come in the face of insurmountable odds, what the fuck do you do? And so we bring out Santanico Pandemonium.
Kneel and worship at the feet of Santanico Pandemonium.
And then she releases the gown, unveils a big, like, constricting yellow python of sorts on her, and does this whole dance where they had to really, Robert talks about really having to intercut around that because that snake would weigh her down, and Salma was falling quite a bit.
Salma's been in all my movies, so I said, I want you dancing with a big, like a python. And she was afraid of snakes, so I said, oh, well, that's the only way you're going to get the job.
And it was really a great experience, and if Robert had not pushed me into it, I would have missed it.
Santanico Pandemonium was a 1975 Mexican horror film that Quentin had never seen, but when working at Video Archives, they had a poster of it on Manhattan Beach in California. They had a poster of it that he always loved and was infatuated by, and then he knew Richard Linklater's cinematographer who'd always tell him, you got to see this movie. So, namesake, he loved it. That character was originally written in as Blonde Death, but Robert was just like, I don't know. These are like Aztecian, like vampires and stuff. Or mine is just like,
listen, I got someone who can play this way better, and her name is Selma Hayek. I think you're gonna like her, Quentin.
Like her a lot. You're gonna like her a little too much. You might write yourself in to do some fun, freaky stuff or two, huh?
Yikes! But then he rewrote the part for Selma Hayek, right?
Yes. Yeah. So they rewrite around for her in some ways. There's a famous little bit that Robert had to kind of threaten Selma that if she wouldn't dance with the snake, that they had Madonna lined up ready to go to dance with the snake and to give her the encouragement. Up to this time, we have had a lot of these moments where we get these leering low eyes of Richie targeting in on women. And it's the inverse now.
This whole dance feels kind of ritualistic. We're being lulled again into this like feeling of being comfortable and being enticed by Santanico pandemonium, and she zeroes in on the one person that we know is incredibly evil, and she immediately goes to him to almost be like, I'm gonna find the most threatening person in the room and go to them and disarm them completely. I think it serviced that story pretty well, and it did disarm him to then ultimately be the first victim. You know, he is the first victim of the titty twister.
We get a quick transformation from there, and one of the these match cut using CGI, but for like the initial transformation, so they had a really smooth, fluid, this kind of what they were calling kind of like this cobra head movement.
Now here's our 3 stages on Selma's makeup, but you can see him a little closely if you slow down on him.
The mid stage was actually a one-piece pullover mask that got glued down, and she had different stages of fangs and stuff as well.
I need polygrip.
And the move was very choreographed in terms of like a nod forward, head goes back.
We repeated that move on each stage so that we could morph that all together so it would look a little more organic and not so computery.
And this is really when that like Robert Rodriguez fast, quick cuts, like almost whimsical leaning filmmaking really plays well, because at this point we have no fucking clue that this is a vampire movie. You know, think about like the first time you saw this movie or anybody saw this movie and didn't know that that was happening. Like, what? Yeah. This is where we are right now? We're in a vampire movie? But I think Rodriguez's style, it kind of just lends towards the fantastical a little bit. So it can get there somewhat naturally.
And it was very open-ended. From when Quentin had the script going in there, it was just like all hell breaks loose. And it was just like, all right, well, this can either be this large or this small. Like, what does that mean? We're going to have to just figure this out.
Turns out to be like the last third of the movie, which I think should lead us probably into the thrill.
Look, dickhead, the only thing you have to be convinced about is that you are in a situation with a couple real mean motor scooters.
Real mean indeed, and way more mean than the motor scooters for sure. We got full-on lady dancers are changing into vampires. We got the bartenders changing into vampires. We got the bouncers changing into vampires. This is, holy shit, a vampire bar.
The sheer volume of work that was done each single day. I mean, we had to make up, 15 dancers and stuntmen every single day. We had a crew of like 10 people, and it was literally an assembly line. These were all just generic makeups and contact lenses that we did on a lot of the dancers in terms of fangs and teeth. Every girl would come and go, I want to wear fangs, I want to wear teeth, because they thought if they had that they'd have a better chance of getting a close-up. I remember that arm rip gag. You came to me like at 7 a.m. So I want to rip a guy's arm off. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's the way a lot of the shoot was. A lot of the shoot was we'd come in the morning and Robert would come up with these ideas and we'd run into the room and we'd rig it up and then we'd come back out on set and we'd go, okay.
In this first moment of really all hell breaking loose, we first of all get the simple trucker guys who are all there just getting taken out by all the lady dancers. They're immediately changing.
And all the while, we are also getting these great, to get around the film being cut down on from too much blood use, they went to green blood for the vampires. Simple change.
A little blood, just lots of green blood flying out. We didn't think we'd get away with that, but I guess because it was green, the PA let it go.
Well, it's the same thing on Evil Dead 2. When we worked on Evil Dead 2 with Sam Raimi a long time ago, and that was the thinking was, if it's not red, then it's not necessarily as disgusting to viewers.
What did y'all use for some of that goo? These things melt down into the most horrible things. What is it?
Just different colored methocel that we all mixed together and made little
like
swirly puddles and stuff.
Yeah.
This is the scene where we end up using props from Tales from the Hood, Pulp Fiction, and Jason Goes to Hell's heart that you see after they blow up Jason and it's still alive and stuff is the heart they ended up using in a later sequence too.
And this first part is really about them learning that they are strong for sure, but that they can kill them.
Okay then, what do we know about these vampires?
Well, we know they got superhuman strength, but we can hurt them.
And then we do get Richie coming back. Resurrected Richie.
And what was interesting was without the wig on, it looked like an evil Mr. Clean.
Didn't he look weird? I have some great photographs of him when he didn't have the wig on. He didn't have his contacts.
We see the transformation, and then he shrugs like Sex Machine off, who's coming to kill him, and Seth's like, nobody fucking touch my brother, I'll fucking kill you type shit. And he's looking at him as like, obviously not your brother anymore. And then Richie changes back for a second into like Richie face, but he's got these contact lenses. So they made all these contact lenses for so many like extras and stuff. These were too small and also just irritated the hell out of Quentin's eyes. So he wasn't putting up with it, and so they ultimately kind of bagged away from it. But they got one shot.
It almost feels like that's only Seth seeing that, how it's cut together.
Yes, I agree. He's humanizing him for a second.
Yes, everybody else is seeing the like roided out Richie, but Seth is seeing like the human still in there. But he's still a monster. You know, he still has the teeth, he has the beady eyes, and so even though Seth is seeing him more human, he can still see that he's a monster, and then he kills him. And there's a moment right afterwards that Jake and Kate show sympathy for him, like, hey man, I'm sorry. Like they actually like they're comforting him in that moment.
I'm sorry your brother died. I'm sorry everybody died.
I'm sorry everybody's dead.
It's again going to this like great equalizer that is the situation that they're in, and is the equalizer that is survival. You know, they're all in this situation together, and they have to rely on each other, especially right now, to get through to the end, to just get out of this alive. Unfortunately, Sex Machine
gets bit. Arm gets bit.
Whoopsie.
And so he had some of the more drawn out like prosthetics and stuff, like in sequences they had to too, as far as like fingers expanding. We have Frost basically giving us a Nom story that he doesn't ever get to fully finish his point to it. And we're seeing a lot of his just physical action doing these knife stabs while we're seeing Tom Savini, we're seeing Sex Machine, like first like notice a caneye's a little big, and you get a little kind of shinging, like cling to it, and then like expansion of the hands.
So we did different stages of teeth. Tom actually had a little more elaborate of a makeup than most of the characters because he actually had finger extensions.
Right.
And
so he had finger extensions, and then we had to match all of this on a blue screen set. So this was kind of tough to get. I think we shot this first, the live action of him changing, and then went over to the blue screen to do the parts with the hands morphing into longer hands and all that. I had him hold his breath for this shot to make it look like he's like holding all the activity that's going in his body. He's really great.
And then we get this, I think Savini came up with it too, his creepy crawler hands to come over or down his chest, and then Savini starts kicking all of their asses. Immediately goes to Jacob, bites Jacob arm. You're like, well, fuck, we just lost Fred Williamson. Jacob just gets bit immediately? Are you kidding me?
Tom's great. He's got that great nervous energy, and he was so excited about doing everything. He almost got everybody hurt. I know he really pegs George Clooney later on because, you know, we would rehearse it with him, and he would show how far he was going to go with his arm, and then he'd call action and go a lot further just with the adrenaline.
Tom punched a lot of people because he would get so excited about it.
It comes down to Sex Machine and Fred, and he kind of just like runs at Fred, and Fred throws him into the window. Jake gets pinned behind the bar while Seth, Kate, and Scott run off to a storage room and just barely make it in before a bat comes in. We have this great moment too of Jake behind the bar, another great sound moment of the bats flying around as he's like kind of trying to find things to make across, one being a shotgun, one being a baseball bat, of bats turning slowly into more humanoid form, to the point of when he pops up out of the bar, we see the whole room filled with these vampires that have become a little more human.
Now
this was a composite.
Yeah, we only had like about 9 of these monsters.
I think we had like 12.
12 at the most, but the other ones that were, I think 9 real ones, and then some of them that were just like heads with body makeup and people wearing shorts, and
right.
So we just re-photographed them against a blue screen to multiply them. But if you look closely, there's only a few guys.
You'll see the same ones. There's a guy named Walter Phelan.
That guy
right
I use
there.
a lot.
This is when we got a little copy, cut and paste from Quentin Tarantino of what was once a speech that was supposed to be in that moment, turned into nothing.
Yeah, so we had, again, going back to the pre-production of things, Robert was really wanting to get movement on Dusk Till Dawn and stuff, and then part of the fire, that impetus to light the match under the ass, was Quentin started scrapping from it, pulling from the script, and ends up pulling what was originally written for Jacob as he comes down a hall to push away these vampires, or to keep the vampires back, the Ezekiel 25:17 speech that we get from Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
You strip that away, no longer has a speech. He was just supposed to be holding 2 pieces of wood, wooden stakes to create a cross. So Robert's like, what am I going to do to punch this up? Quentin thought about bringing in another Bible verse, writing another fictitious one, and ends up being like, all right, well, let's just give Jacob a fucking baseball bat and a shotgun. And that shotgun has that great little hold the placement or whatever. It's just like a little rounded slot near the barrel, so he can slide that bat right in there, hold up the cross, but then fucking cock and blast some motherfucking vampires away. You kind of get this moment of re-empowering this pastor, refinding his faith in the moment, because again, I jumped the quote a little early as to when I should have thrown it, but becoming the mean motherfucking servant of God.
Are you a faithless preacher? Or are you a mean motherfucking servant of God?
So when Jacob kicks down the door, this is Harvey Keitel getting to be Harvey Keitel. This is fucking Mr. White coming in, because he starts demanding things like, this is what we're going to do. Yep. I'm no longer Jacob. I'm a lapdog of Satan. And then it was just he's threatening to kill himself if his kids don't promise to kill him when he turns.
Then I want you to swear to God that you'll kill me.
It's a great switch, because at this point, Jacob has been this kind of meeker, soft character. As soon as he learns that he's off to hell with the rest of these vampires, he switches into action and, turns to the man of faith that he really is. And we get a great DIY use of all of the things that truckers have left over the years to create this arsenal. We're using all the things that we just learned in this third act of what can kill vampires, their weaknesses, what can we use at our disposal. It feels like now all of our characters are pretty well steeped into this world and using now the world to take their power back.
All right, vampire killers, let's kill some fucking vampires.
Let's get in there. And it's the final showdown.
Everybody's kicking ass together, and then we see Jacob with his son Scott a few steps behind him. And Jacob's leaning up on these 3 vampires, about to go, and you see him kind of stop walking. And then from behind you get a little head tilt, and then he turns around. And Harvey hadn't done a lot of much any prosthetics at this time. And he was like, really do me up, make me the worst. And he wanted devil horns. And kind of, I guess, conversely, being a pastor and stuff. So they didn't quite go full devil at the crown of the head, but they had these horns coming off of his fucking cheekbone and forehead. And he immediately just goes and kills his son, bites his son, Scott. Scott not only gets bit, he then gets grabbed by a bunch of fucking vampires, and they call this kind of their Dawn of the Dead sequence, where we're just talking about how they were able to get away with something like that. And Quentin was just saying, he's saying how it took him bigger balls to do that than Spielberg to make Schindler's List in Hollywood terms at the time, okay? And he said, in Jaws, they didn't even eat the children, okay? And I love you, Quentin, to death.
They did, though.
But it's
they killed a kid.
They do kill the Kittner boy, and you do see him eaten alive. And they shot at a faster frame rate. And Robert saying, so you really see him fucking twitching out. One shot, for whatever reason, he just full fucking stop blows up, explodes. That was so fun too. The band's transformation, playing the human parts and everything, and then them just being like, "Fuck you, good night," and exploding. And that was a little bit before, but still, it's just we're having so much fun. And then we get to this Tom Savini character who's attacking, gets brought to his hands and knees. He just cranks down on that lasso around his neck, pops his head off within the matter of a few seconds. And we get the great Sex Machine leather jacket and stuff, and we get this rat transformation of this head that grows out from his body, expands into this big, disgusting rat.
Now, he raises up by how you guys are under. Some people are under, and some people are on the side of the camera doing the movements of the hand. You're all watching monitors to kind of see what y'all are doing.
Yeah, and then I was off to the side sort of coordinating all the movements. I mean, the rat was all cable operated with radio-controlled head. All the fingers were cable operated.
I like that shot right there. It was a nice kind of drive-by shot of it, so you can see that it's a full-bodied, not somebody in a suit, but some real beast fighting him. This old traditional, old-school kind of makeup that really looks really neat. It came off great.
That was like from a very early version of the script, and they had created this like rat creature early on, and just kind of decided whether or not they were going to use it. And it was like, this will be a fun, fight sequence for George. Similar when we're talking, it kind of reminded me of Freddy in the initial Nightmare when he's got the extended arms, and we're talking about these like the monofilament line or fishing rods, and like having these guys on the side basically puppeteering and pulling that. We had a bunch of puppeteering guys laying to the side who were just moving the rat rhythmically around, flailing on top of George there. And
it's kind of like at this point in the movie, I think it's very well placed because we've gotten so far down this rabbit hole of ridiculousness that seeing this kind of like rat creature come out of Tom Savini, at least for me, I'm not questioning it too much. I'm just like, okay, yeah, another crazy fucking effect that we're seeing, a crazy monster that they're going to have to overcome. I'm not asking myself, why is this rat creature here? It's fine. It fits in.
By then, I think y'all made like a couple of extra ones because we really needed for this shot to look like there was a bunch coming at him, and that was everybody that we had right there.
Yeah.
And the rest, we just keep using the same guys on one side this way, and then when we look that way, those are the same guys on the other side, just to look like they're surrounded, which they're not.
We have Seth and Kate down here at the end, our last duo that, fortunately for them, dawn has come, and we start shooting holes in the bar to get some light in there, and then
360 degrees of light at sunrise.
And then luckily we have our third roll from Cheech come in and save the day, blow open the door, the guy that Seth and Richie were originally supposed to be meeting up at this bar.
And the fun thing there was like early on they had their established like leads, even to like Tom and Fred, I believe, but there was like 5 of them reading through the script and a table read. So then, Quentin or Robert would assign different people to read different characters, and ultimately Cheech read, the border guard, the guy coming in, and then Carlos in one of the kind of table reads. And separately, Quentin, Robert, and Cheech all basically overnight had the idea. It was like, what if Cheech plays all 3 roles? And Cheech didn't want to come off like arrogant or something about it, so he didn't want to bring it forward. But then it was like, yeah, I was thinking that too, basically.
The first day of shooting the set, we did an explosion and we burned it down.
We're left with our survivors. Our survivors are left, and I think we should probably get to the final ride.
Nice.
Well, your best better get a hell of a lot better, or you're going to be feeling a hell of a lot worse.
And into the final ride we go. Our final 2 characters, Seth and Kate, are left. What I really like in this last moment is everyone through this experience has kind of been brought down on the same level. Kate is left with no family, and is left to kind of pick up the pieces of her own life. She has this question of, can I just go with you, George or Seth? Can I just go with you to El Rey? Kind of almost commit to this criminal life that you have led your whole life. And he could have easily been like, yeah, I need a companion. I'm alone now. I need someone to go with me. but he actually has a last moment of protection to be like, do you know what El Rey is?
Go home, Kate. Maybe a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard.
And it's this last moment that reinforces the theme of you are your actions rather than the things that people put on you. You know, I think he was a criminal. Seth is a criminal. He's a career criminal who was tied with his psychotic brother and could have easily just become who his brother was, which was just a psychotic killer. But he held on to that moral code enough to remain human and make a human decision in the end to protect Kate, to protect hopefully some sort of innocence that she still has remaining, even though she pretty much lost everything too. But she at least has a chance.
Interesting, like on the back end of things, Quentin hadn't left the last three pages like unwritten, and it was kind of, they were calling it this kind of like Armageddon of like, how is Quentin going to end this? Everybody thought there was going to be some crazy emphatic punchy thing thereafter, but Quentin basically, he resorted to Roger Corman's school on monster movies and stuff. He's like, when you kill the fucking monster, end the movie. He's like, don't fuck around with 3 more scenes, all this unnecessary stuff. He's like, get out. We'll draw back and get ourselves this excellent matte painting where the back end of the titty twister is basically the top of a fucking Aztecian pyramid. Nice chef's kiss at the end there.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till fucking Dawn.
1996. Wow. Let's get into these Smash Pumpkins, shall we? Very curious. How are you feeling? Smash Pumpkin wise for From Dusk Till Dawn.
Smash Pumpkins From Dusk Till Dawn. I love this movie to death. There's so much of what it means and what it's inspired around and what's so fun. The culmination of individuals who are friends but hard fucking workers who love their craft and getting to like be on both sides of that, of having so much fun but really working hard. And where work is fun and stuff. And it's like, you know, Robert said even at one point too, like waking up early more. I hate getting up early. Come on set. What do I have to do today? It's like, oh, heads rolling around this and that. He's like, this is fucking awesome. This is so much fun. And so, you know, we can bite at some areas and whatnot, but even with some of the unintended aspects of the larger scope of like when we're looking at meanings, like, you know, and where you very succinctly broke down a lot of these, like the monsters, who are the monsters of this film and everything. I landed a solid 4.2.
4.2. Highly rated. Highly rated, highly coveted.
But again, that aspect of having so much fun, and that was the set intent around it. And again, allowing somebody to really, you know, flush out from a special effects, that's what culminated the origin of the story. Thank you, Robert.
It reminds me of The Void, you know, because they were coming from the special effects perspective and then building
Terrifier as well.
upon that, and Terrifier as well. So you can have successful movies from different perspectives, you know. And I think where I land on it is probably around 3.5. I think very highly rated, very solid, and it's a great showcase of the different genres that we can have coming together. And then when we get to the horror genre, the super showcase of K&B as a effects studio. I think my main critique of it kind of comes is I love the mashup of the Rodriguez and the Tarantino style. I do think that there are some points, especially in the third act, when I want like the sprint to the end where we're still getting some like Tarantino dialogue scenes kind of peppered in where it kind of feels like it can be jerky.
Yeah, it slows it down.
It's a little slow there at the end.
That's where we end up in. They scripted out. They have 3 battle sequences.
Right. And I'm like, do we need that many separation of battle sequences? I'm not sure. I kind of wanted that like pace, like running to the end once we got there. But for the most part, I really do feel like their styles mesh really well. And we see that they work together beyond this. So it obviously works for them too. How about the creepiest kitty? What's your moment? What's your scariest moment?
The scariest moment, the creepiest kitty. You know, I have to generally go back to kind of first impression of this film. And Scott was always a curious character to me from like the beginning. It's like we don't give a lot of backstory again why he is an adopted son. Does it really matter he's an adopted son? No, but like again, having a little bit more of that to kind of relate to the sibling dynamic as well and everything. It's just never really layered to there. So I was not that like drawn or like, you know, attached to this character to feel such a way when he dies. But I was fucking sure as shit shocked when I was a kid seeing that movie for the first time, what they did to Scott. So I will say creepiest kitty for me is the totality of Scott's death.
Poor guy. Just blow him up.
But very close runner-up that I think you might go with.
All right, well, let me say it. Let's see what you think. Actually, it has nothing to do with the vampires.
Okay. I was wrong.
Oh, okay. Because I actually think that the creepiest kitty for me is the reveal of what Richie did to the hostage. It's such an impactful moment with using such little violence.
Well, and it's the first really, we've had an action scene, but it's more sinister. That's more like 7 layers, and it's that good, like intercutting the psychology of it, how it fucks. I absolutely agree. It was really...
It's putting the horror on us to make, which for me is always so much more impactful. I apologize to K&B because this movie is such a good showcase of all the super awesome effects. But that moment is just, it was just such a good choice, I think, of Rodriguez to just stay on Clooney, make us fill in the gory details of what he's seeing. And his acting performance is just, you know, it sells it. From Dusk Till Dawn, holy shit. Wow. This has been highly anticipated for us to get to this.
Very. The love for Quentin, the love for Robert, the amalgamation, getting one end of them into this first season in a way that has a lot of little nods, tie-ins to other films, you know, just actor-wise or otherwise, that, you know. And just you guys wait. Just you wait.
Just wait. We got one more episode this season, which we're very excited to bring y'all. And then we'll see what happens after that.
What lies in store beyond the Deadlights.
I want to throw it over to Playground Social Studios, which is the studio that we are recording this in. Please check them out at Playground Social Studio.
Huge heaping thanks, shout out to the one, the only Rudy Schieder.
Rudy Schieder chopping it up in the booth.
The one, the only, the almighty Andrew Degner.
Who's making us look really good with the lights and the cameras.
And the incomparable Michael Sinas, Mike TV. I love you to death, brother. You know that always.
Bringing us these beautiful consoles.
Sorry this one shorted out on us, but it was new to the game and bit the dust a little too, son.
Sorry. If you want to check me out, you can find me at Beep Beep Richie T.
You can find me over at MR_Andreessen.
But until next time,
y'all stay spooky.
Y'all stay spooky.
Y'all stay spooky. Woo!